L'Amour Media Versatility, we aim to provide comprehensive solutions to our clients. We have a team of experienced professionals who can help you with every aspect of your media needs. From documentation and marketing to promotion and more, we provide our clients with top-notch quality services. We understand that each client is unique and has specific needs. That's why our team works closely with you to understand your company and event goals and objectives. We are committed to providing the highest quality services in media and strive to exceed our clients' expectations. Our team is passionate about helping you reach your goals and making sure you get the best experience and results. If you're looking for a reliable business to help you with all your media needs, look no further than L'Amour Media Versatility. Contact us today to get started at 252-497-3817 or at www.lamour-photos.com.
Girl, what?
Clemente Gavin is going to be in Jacksonville, North Carolina.
For real? Let's go. I know he's going to be at somebody's church.
Yes, he's going to be at the Free Independent Apostolic Church.
I think I've seen that on my timeline. Because they got a guy that's speaking there, don't they?
Let me see.
I think I did see that.
Girl, you can't speak.
Jesus.
Please. Mary, did you find it?
Pastor Kyrie Clinton.
Yup, that's him.
Kyrie,
girl, he kind of talking. When is it supposed to be?
It's March 10th.
Okay, March 10th. We can make that a weekend thing. What they call on a Friday?
Yeah, it's a Friday.
Now, how you know?
Because I do when I be taking off.
Jesus.
So, like, I got these tickets.
Okay, because that was my next question.
It's free.
Oh, hallelujah.
Let's go, because I'm going to see if I can get on.
Girl, you ain't going to be able to see that either.
Don't say that.
I mean...
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of Colorful Voices of Sisterhood are their own and do not represent L'Amour Media Versatility, that of any broadcast networks utilized, its advertisers, or sponsors. All content is subject to copyright and may not be reproduced in any form without prior written consent by L'Amour Media Versatility. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of Colorful Voices of Sisterhood are for general public information and entertainment purposes only.
I just want to get on here and just talk about JR. JR was as y'all look on my page, it's a Men Foundation. And after that, it says a mother expression never dies. My expression, for my children would never die. And like I said, I'm doing this foundation because I just want to just encourage other mothers. I just want to, just empower, other mothers, just to help them and let them know, y'all, we are in this together. I'm linked up with other groups. I got invitation to travel. But I know during this pandemic stuff is going on, I can't do no traveling as of yet. But God is really blessing this foundation because He get all the glory and the honor. He moved on my heart for me to get it started, and my children to assist me in it. And I'm grateful, for I am. When I started going to counseling, even when I was in North Carolina, I had spoke to some of the session groups there, and so many, when I began to tell them, about my other son, so many people lives I just touched, and I'm thanking God for that. I said, God, if I'm able to just reach that one soul, that one somebody, I'm just grateful for that, because so many people is so many people is don't know how to cope with grief, don't know how to deal with death, and they turn to so many different things. I thank God I didn't turn to alcohol, I didn't turn to the streets. Y'all, I'm telling you, that source.
Hi everybody, Facebook family. This is a Men Foundation. We're going to cut this ribbon. Hope everybody watching. Just want to thank everybody for coming that's here, those that's on their way. But I just want to say I thank God for blessing me with the building. I couldn't have done it without him. So here I go, y'all.
Three. Woo!
All right, y'all may time to enter. You may enter.
Hello, welcome to Colorful Voices of Sisterhood. We have a great show in store for you today. We have the founder of Amend Foundation. Amend stands for A Mother's Expression Never Dies. And we are glad to have Ms. Angie Demby here. Angie is the founder, like I mentioned, of Amend Foundation, and she's the mother of 5 children. You've got your handful there. Yeah. We're talking 4 boys and 1 daughter. But Angie is here to discuss her 2 sons. She lost her first son, Gary, on May 13, 2015, and her second son, Gerald, on January 21st, 2019. After Angie lost both of her sons, she created Amend, and it was in honor of her sons. And she is here today to talk about the death of her sons, her 2 beautiful angels, and also how she coped. As a mother, all of us here are mothers, and to me, that would be the hardest thing I think my heart would take, is to lose a child. Someone you gave birth to, someone you carried for 9 months, someone that you've raised and taught them to eat and talk and walk and play and ride a bike. So my heart is out to all the mothers out there who had to bury a child. I know my mother said that would be the hardest grief to deal with, is to lose a child.
Absolutely.
So Miss Angie, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. We are here for support.
Yes.
But really about the foundation and what you're doing with it, and grieving the 2 sons and what you built from it. So please tell us your story.
Well, I started Amend Foundation in January 2020. I'm already in my 3rd year in January of this year, make 3 years since Amend Foundation has been founded. It's been a journey for me, trying to cope with losing two sons. The journey hasn't been easy. I still have my days, my moments, but I know that I'm able to get through it, taking it one day at a time. As far as the Men Foundation, me getting that started, I want to implement that. Me getting that started because I wanted to reach the community. It's so many young people that have died, and older people from gun violence and from substance abuse. I lost JR, as she stated. I have 4 boys and 1 girl. I lost JR back in 2015. He was killed. The 2 gentlemen that took his life was the one that had pulled the trigger. He was 18, and then the other one that's accessory to the murder was 19. They are incarcerated as we speak, and I just want to share a little bit how I got through that ordeal. As far as being in church, I'm a strong believer in God. And at that moment when everybody was wanted to encourage me and wanted to say, everything's gonna be all right, God this, God that, and I just want to be transparent with everybody. I didn't want to hear anything about God. I didn't want nobody encouraging me, telling me it was gonna be okay, everything's gonna be all right, and some people just didn't know what to say to me. They didn't know how to approach me. Some people would say time heal all wounds, Me, I said you don't put no time limit on when somebody grieves because you just don't know what that person is going through. And some people, it's 30 years in, they don't lost their loved one and they still grieving.
Right.
I have lost uncles, I have lost aunts, other family members, but y'all losing a child, and to everybody that's listening, that pain is so hard, it's so unbearable. When at the time when JR got killed and I got to my house and, it was so many other young people that was there and my children, everybody was just devastated. But you can feel the atmosphere in my home that somebody died. And it was just totally different because he was the liveliest one out of all my children. We know that he was home. We knew that he was in the kitchen. We knew he was in the refrigerator going through stuff. JR was very... a loving child. He also had epilepsy, but everybody didn't know. He was on 4 different types of medication to try to, they was trying to, get it under control until we finally had one that was under control. And his last epilepsy of seizures that he was 17 years old. And I thought that was going to take him out, but it didn't because I was scared because, he was having them really, really bad. But in my moment, my triumph of trying to still cope with that, I said, okay, I started going through counseling myself and still trying to be strong for my other children, which was hard, but, they're, trying to cope too. And I tell everybody, when you lose a child, that pain is so unbearable. And I thank God that I didn't turn to the streets or I didn't turn to drinking or because you could turn to so many other things.
Yes.
And people, and I also was telling everybody too, I said, when you grieving, grief can mean so many different things.
Yes.
It doesn't have to mean that you grieving a child. You can grieve from a bad breakup, a bad divorce. That's a loss.
All
a child.
Any separation.
All that
Anything
is a
separation
loss.
is devastating.
It's devastating because you're going to go through grief stages.
Yes.
You got to go through of that acceptance. I wasn't there yet when I lost my second oldest son. I was not there yet of trying to accept it. So then, of course, it took me a while to start being around other people. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go to church because that's my background. I was brought up in church. My parents, that's all I know is church. All I know is God, and my parents, my father, he's an apostle. My mother, she's a pastor. And then too, being in the ministry that I'm in now, my spiritual parents, Dr. Keith K. Curry and Dr. Keisha Curry. So that's my safe haven, me being in the presence of God. Even though at that moment, I didn't want to hear nothing about God because I was hurting and I was grieving. I was just so angry. So then, me dealing with that, still going through my grieving process, still trying to cope with everyday life. There's times I didn't want to get out of bed.
Yeah, I think that's a natural thing to do. You know, just sit back, but don't relax because of course you're grieving and you're having all these mixed emotions. You don't want to hear anything. But
Then as Diana is actually a grief counselor.
A grief coach.
A grief
Yeah,
coach.
I call it a journey.
Coach,
Yeah.
yeah. Because there's different stages they go through.
Right.
Some people say stages. I don't believe it's in stages because you could be at stage 8 and go back to stage 1.
Oh yeah, you can go
so
back.
I don't believe in stage. I believe it's a journey. I believe we learn how to cope with it,
Right.
but we never truly get over it.
Over it.
That's part of you.
Yeah.
Because you was getting ready to talk about some mornings that you didn't want to get out of bed.
Yeah, there's morning I didn't want to get up. I just wanted to just pull the covers over my head and just stay in bed all day. But I knew I had other children I had to be strong for. My other 2 sons and my daughter. And I was like, I gotta get up from here. But I didn't want to eat. But I do like to eat. I love to eat. I love to eat. But I was like, it's almost like, you know, I had to like really slow down because I was like, it seemed like that was my way of coping. I had to eat. I had to eat. I was constantly just eating all out through the night, snacks and stuff. And then I just put on so much weight. And I was like, man, I said, this pain right here is too hard. It's just too hard. And I'm like, God, how can I need to find a way to how to get through this. Even though I was angry at God, I'm like, God, now I need you. I need you because this pain right here, I just can't deal with this. So I still was going to church, still praising God and everything. But that void in my heart, it was still there. And I said, what did I do? Did I do anything wrong? You know, all these thoughts is going through my head, and I was so excited. I was like, you know what? I don't even want to live no more.
You said something. You was even suicidal. With the thoughts that was going through your heads. Because at that point, did you feel like you was blaming yourself?
I did. I felt guilty because I'm like, a stranger had to be there with my son and hold him in his arm and recite 23rd songs. I couldn't even be there to be with him. And the last time I saw my son is when he left out the door because we was having a conversation about his graduation. And I was like, man, that was the last time I saw him. And I'm like, you know, I'm not going to see him again. I'm like, wow, he's really not coming back.
And that's probably what implanted in your mind that, okay, there's the door.
Yeah.
So a lot of mothers lose their children like you lost. This is not, like you said earlier, no mother want to bury their children.
No.
And but right now, and there's a lot going on, gun, drugs.
Right.
And what can they learn from your story as being mother? Like you say, we blame ourselves when our children go through because we missed something. Right? Why they act the way they do. No matter, parents teach their children to go out there, do. I don't know, but I don't. You don't tell your children, go out there, bullying people and shoot people.
Right.
Intentionally. But what you think do we missing from being a parent to our children?
I will say this. We can't watch our kids 24/7.
Yeah, that for
we
sure.
don't have eyes in the back of our head to see, what they're doing, where they're going. And I know for me, I tell my kids, I said, be careful of the company that you keep. Be careful because everybody that holler friend, or in the slang word the kids use today is bro. They is not your bro. They're not your homie. They're not your homette or homies or whatever you want to call it. You got to be careful. And I always tell them, choose their friends wisely.
Yes.
And my kids used to be scared to bring their friends to my house because they be like, Mom, your face expression. I think my face expression is telling everything. They be like, you be looking so mean. And I'm like, what? But they know me. If I sense or pick up anything from their friends, I'll be like, I don't think you should hang around that person. And my baby boy, he'll say, you so prophetic because you all. I said, listen, I'm just telling y'all from experience. But I said, I know I can't always hold y'all hands. I said, but y'all now that y'all in y'all adulthood, I wouldn't I did shelter my kids. They are spoiled, but I didn't over overbear them where I gotta like, okay, what you doing? Text them every minute. Where y'all going? What y'all doing? I didn't do that. You know, my kids are very, very open with me. You know, and there's some things I shared with them they were doing, and I told them, I said, you know what? I said, well, y'all think I'm not watching y'all? I pay attention to y'all. I said, I know when y'all leave out that door. I pay attention when y'all come back in. And I said, and they was like, and I went to share with my oldest son. I said, you know, this, that, and the third thing. They was like, how do you know that? And I said, really? I said, I pay attention. First of all, I pay attention to y'all. And I said, I watch y'all. I can tell when y'all are upset. I can tell when y'all mad, or somebody done made y'all mad, or y'all hung around a friend, or y'all done something y'all shouldn't have done. I can tell by your attitude and your posture. You know, so I said, I pay attention to y'all. And I said, I don't, as y'all know, I don't always ask y'all business if y'all want to tell me then. But I think to how we can like it's almost, you can't like try to like stop it as far as like trying to avoid trouble. But I think if we just be there for our children and love on them and teach them the right way, and we can give them good advice. But see, it's got to be up to them to listen. You know what I mean? To follow instructions. You know, because us as adults, we don't always follow instructions.
That's so true.
We don't always do what we supposed to do.
That's right.
You know, so it's like the best thing we can do is like love on them and, you know, talk to them and tell them, listen, that friend you hang around, I don't think they good company.
Yeah.
Now, if they tend to choose to still be with that friend, that don't fall on us.
Right.
You know, because they gotta get to that point, into that mindset where, you know what, sometimes they gotta learn the hard way. We don't like to say that, but as a parent, I tell my kids, I say, you know, I don't get in y'all business. I don't tell y'all, try to tell y'all what to do, but I'm going to give y'all the best advice and the godly advice as I can. And now if y'all don't listen, you know, that falls on y'all. That don't fall on me.
Yeah.
But when they go out and do the opposite of what I tell them, I say, you know, I just begin to just pray, and I just leave them in God's hand and let them, you know, do what they got to do.
So
let me go back about, so your two sons passed away 4 years in between, right? So how did you get your strength, or are you do you feel like you are being tested?
When I lost Gerard, I felt like...
Is that the oldest one?
That's the middle child.
Okay.
I felt like I was being tested. Only because I was like, why is I'm going through this again? I just buried my second oldest son, Gary. God, why am I going through this again? I said, what did I do? I started repenting. I said, Lord, did I do something wrong? Did I do anybody wrong? I said, Lord, if I did, forgive me. You know, because I'm like, why did this have to happen to me? And I said, is this what I'm supposed to do? Is I'm supposed to minister to other people or minister to thousands of people and tell them, listen, this is how you can cope when you lose a child. But everybody's like, but Angie, you lost two. Not just one, you lost two. So how are you coping? My older sister tell me, she said, I don't even know how you function. I still don't know how you function. It's a lot of people don't. And I tell them, I said, y'all just don't know. And I still don't feel like getting up in the mornings. I don't.
But you take one day at a time.
Yes.
Sometimes 1 hour at a time. And you cope. That's how you're coping, moving. Because as long as you're moving, so, you know, the word said, though I walk through the valley.
Yes.
So as long as you're walking, you're going through, you're not sitting there stuck. Right. Because you said something. Sometimes you don't want to hear what people got to say. Sometimes I just say, girl, I'm here. Right. That's all you need. I'm here. Because there's no words sometimes for any of us to say, I'm sorry for what? The word I'm sorry in every death is not needed. No. Because if a person has been suffering, laying on a bed of affliction for years, why are you sorry now that God is resting their soul?
Good point. Exactly. Yeah.
So the word I'm sorry is my condolence. I'm here. Right. I'm here. Right. But now look, I'm one of these friends. I'm going to check on you. Yes, you ain't going to lay in that bed day after day. Because if not, I'm going to stay in my pajamas and I'm going to sit right beside you. But we have to just be there sometimes for you. Exactly. And when you want to cry out, whether you use profanity or what, at the end of the day, we'll pray about it. But I have to let you express yourself. Whatever way you need to express yourself. Yes. Go, because you lost two sons.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the first son that you lost, it was to
gun violence.
Gun violence. But you were saying that he was quiet and shy. How did he get involved with gun violence? Was it a drive-by? Was it?
This is what happened. I believe at the time when my son Jr., the one that got killed, he was set up. The two gentlemen that talked to him, that got hooked up with him, they were in school, and you know how kids do. They talk and they talk a good game, and well, you know, if you meet me here, we can do this or we can link up. So they got to talking, and the detective had shared with me that the two gentlemen that my son had conversation with, that was their MO. When somebody comes to their neighborhood, they want to stick this person up. They want to take their stuff. They want to take their cell phone, money. So they were robbing people. Okay. That's what they were doing.
They were like bully.
They were bullying people, robbing
bullying
people,
around.
sticking people up with guns and threatening people. That was their MO. That's all they knew to do. And they were already had a background of, you know, violence. So,
And these gentlemen were the same age as your son?
they were the same. The young gentleman that pulled the trigger that actually killed my son, he was 18.
18 years old.
18. So their life was gone.
Yeah.
Their life.
So where is they getting the gun from? Like, so they were in school, right?
They were in school.
So in school, one time my son, and he was doing things that he's not supposed to do. Him and his friend. Honestly, I said with his principal, I said, is any way they can have security when they come into school?
Right.
No, really. I say it might take time to get check all their bag because it was drugs. They take it to school. They be overdose in the bathroom. I say, is community, they have to come together in school. They have to do those check to get in school. If you go to airport, guess what? You're going to stay in airport for hours before you get into the plane. So in high school, so where is the guns coming? Like, where are they getting this gun from?
They still can sneak guns in, whether they have security or not, because the school that my son had got transferred over to, they had security in there. But see, the thing is, when they met up with my son, who's to say they could have had the gun hidden at home, you know, anything. You know,
it didn't happen in school, right?
It didn't happen in school.
Oh, it's after school.
It happened after school. After school. So
and they lured him into.
They met up with him. They talked to school about how they was going to meet up, and my son met them in their neighborhood, and that's where everything happened. They shot him, and I'm like, you guys had to fight him over because you tried to rob him. You really wanted his book bag or whatever he had in his book bag that bad that you had to kill him and then leave him for dead. And then they ran to Philly and they did the exact same thing to somebody else, and that's how they got caught.
Wow.
So now they're behind bars.
They're behind bars.
Look at that. Those children, like they were 19, 18, they're going to spend the rest of life in 40 years, 15 years.
Their life is gone. But the thing about it is, their mothers can see them.
That's right.
I ain't going to see my son no more. Right. You know what I mean? So, you know, even when I went to court, the mother of the gentleman that killed my son, you know, she actually gave me a mean look. And can I be transparent? When we was in the courthouse, we stepped outside for a minute. I had to get up and go to the bathroom. She looking at me like I got 10 heads. And I'm like, wait a minute. She was standing by the railing, and y'all, I wanted to go over there and push her. I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but I did. I wanted to, because the enemy was talking to my mind. Yes. And I wanted to do some things to her. And I'm like, you're looking at me like I got 10 heads. Your son killed my son. But, you know, I turned the other way, and I went to the bathroom to see what I was doing, and I came back, and I sat down, and she was there to support her son. Now, mind you, I had to go to court twice because they didn't try the two boys at the same time. So imagine I had to, like, replay this over and over and over in my head again. And it just made me so angry. I was so full of anger, and I'm like, Lord, please don't let this consume me or make me bitter. Because it's like I avoid people, so they won't come say nothing to me because I didn't want to say the wrong thing to people. And I said, I don't want to get into no altercation with nobody because I don't know what I might do, or I might black out or what have you. But that was my mindset because I was so angry. I'm like, I cannot believe that they killed my child. They took something from me that I birthed, you know, in my womb, and that I raised this boy up into a nice young man, and they took him from me. So I was mad. And let me share this with y'all. For unforgiveness was in my heart. I talked to my dad first, and I said to him, I said, you brought me up in church the right way, and I said, how can I forgive this young man that killed my son? How? And I began to stand there and I began to cry, and I said, how can I, forgive somebody that killed my son? Because I was so angry, and I said, I know God for myself, but at that time I didn't want my dad to talk to me about God. I didn't want to hear that. So I said, I know you brought me up the right way. I know you taught me how to forgive. I know what the Bible talks about forgiveness. I'm a preacher myself, so I know what you instilled in me. So how you gonna tell me to forgive this young man that killed my son? And then I had the conversation again with my spiritual father, Dr. Keith K. Curry, and he said the same thing. He said, daughter, you have to forgive. And I said, I can't get away from that. But they was like, you have to forgive. And I'm like, I don't want to. And I'm going to be transparent again. Sometimes I feel like I'm still struggling to forgive this young gentleman that killed my son. And I'm still dealing with unforgiveness a little bit with the lady that my son got hooked up with that died from substance abuse.
The second son.
My middle son.
Yeah, I was just
realizing that is sometimes it's not actually a person, it's like a spirit within them. Right. It's what you're dealing with in some aspect to me. Because it's like, when Satan enters somebody, they do crimes. So that's what that part is tough there. And it's gonna take time.
Yes, ma'am.
Time, not tomorrow, but in time you can come to that. You'll find some kind of peace within that part, but that's tough. And I like the realness, because I don't, like, Lord, don't put me through nothing like that, because you don't know what you'll do.
You don't know.
Sometimes when people say, if I was,
no,
I walk away from them.
Right, because you don't know.
You know what you would do. But you dealt with that. How did it affect your other kids as well?
Oh, it affected them really, really bad. Like, when we went to court, my oldest son, he was sitting next to his daughter's mother, and she was holding his arm because he wanted to get up. And he wanted to do some damage to the gentleman that took... I mean, just imagine you sitting in the courtroom and you facing the guy that took your son's life. This young man took my son's life. So imagine your other kids going through that. They were angry. We were still crying after the fact. After we left out the courtroom, we were still crying. And then we had to go into the another room to talk to the Attorney General. And he was like, I'm so sorry that you guys are going through this. I mean, we still going through it.
Yes.
We still going. They have their days and they have their moments. And I could tell when they're having their moment because my daughter, she will cry. My son, Jameer, me and him will talk. And then my oldest son, he'll post something on Facebook. So that's how I know that they
still dealing with.
And you know what stuck in my head now too is the one that you were sharing to us in the green room. His last word.
Yes.
Don't let me
He
die.
said, please don't let me die. Those was his words to the older gentleman that witnessed everything. And I was like, he wasn't ready yet. But see, God knows. God knows best. And I was like, man, like God, why did you, if he wasn't ready, why did you have to take him? It was just so many thoughts that was going through my head. But I was like, you know what? I know God don't make no mistakes. But then again, I still was questioning, like, God, why me? Why does have to happen to me?
Why my son?
Why my son? Because he didn't bother anybody.
So you say that is the question that for individual parents raising our children. Sometimes you raise your child to do the right thing.
Right.
Right. Then he goes to school, he get bullied. And it's really hurt. And child, you will hate to say parents teach their children to be evil or to do evil things. Then who we should look at? Who we should look at, right? Okay, your child, you raise him to do well, to respect, to love, to not lie, to not kill, all this according to your belief system. We all have our own belief system that implement to our family. Then our children or ourselves, we take that to community. So how can we, as individually, family and community, to come together and fix this? How can we do that? Like, say you can bully your son. He has a special need. Sometimes children, they've been bullied by their disability. So what can we do? I'm asking viewers, like, what can you, your family, can do, implant your children so they will not have to do something like that?
Go through that.
And
And I think,
you want to say something?
I was gonna say with my son having the disability, like she said, with the how can we stop it? It's like almost I'm not gonna say that we can't, because there's something that can be done, but again, it's like how we don't even know how they were raised up.
Right. Exactly. That's my point. Like how like you raise your child to do the right thing, but now he's gone. You lost your child.
Yeah.
But that child, they lost their child too. Now they're not gonna have the grown kids. You know, if it's woman or male, it's both of you now. The family losing something.
Yep.
They're hurting too.
Exactly.
They might be good parents told the children to not do those things. Now the children went at opposite.
But here's we say well, people may say, well, they didn't have their mom or their dad in their life. My kids, their biological dad wasn't always in their life either, but they weren't going around shooting people, you know, killing people. So sometimes they use that as an excuse.
That should not be
the lawyer
excuse.
said that. He was like, well, you know, the gentleman that was standing up at the you know, being tried, he goes, you know, the other gentleman, he didn't even show no remorse of him did what he did to my son. He just said, well, I hope the family can forgive me, and just balled up the paper real quick. So, and then the other gentleman, he was like, you know, I kind of felt a little sense of remorse from him, but then again, it was like, that's still not enough, because that's not going to bring my son back.
No matter what they say.
No matter what y'all say, that's still not going to bring my child back. He's gone.
I think that goes to look at like family dynamics. You have a strong upbringing. Your mother, your father, I think they were probably great role models for your children also. And then I'm thinking of the mother of the one who shot your child, on how she responded and acted, where maybe her upbringing wasn't as strong.
Right.
So I think everybody's dynamic is different, but I think that's the importance of a community, is to identify that who needs that mentor, or who needs that extra hand, because you can notice that in young teens. On who's wearing off track and who's not behaving how they should be. I'm sure teachers see it every day in their classroom. They can probably pinpoint what kid they think
absolutely. But the one they gonna have more trouble with.
Even with your son, that you done all you can, but when they leave your house, sometimes you don't know
that's
what they do. Exactly. So
and
this is
done all you
can.
Some she didn't. You may even may have even said this right here. We say all the time, don't go with no strangers. Don't follow this right here.
We sure
but
did.
sometimes that little voice, them little voices in your head, you don't think. And it happens to any of us. You know, he going off with his friends that he's thinking not going to do anything.
Exactly.
They could be in a game, because sometimes being in a game, you got to kill somebody. You got to do something. So
you have to prove something.
Yes.
You have to prove something.
But all of it goes back to me, it's just the enemy, how they go in and try to trick different things. But I wanted to, you was talking about how it affected your children in the courthouse. But you was getting ready to say something else, and I think we kind of cut you off on that one part with your son, but your daughter, and you had another son too.
I have another son. Like I said, my son Jameer, you know, I could tell with him going through having his moment by him, like the conversation that we have, and I remember he was in college, and he called me, and he wanted to, you know, give up on kind. I said, no. I said, you got to keep going. You know, your brothers, they wouldn't want you to stop, you know. And then my daughter, you know, I thought she wasn't going to finish school, because my middle son, when we got the call that he was going, it was right after she was going through graduation. So she had a very, very tough time. And imagine we sitting at home, and I'm planning another funeral arrangements for my middle child that I lost. and trying to deal with her to keep her continue to go to school. That was hard. And then you got another son in college. Then the older son, he's working and doing what he needs to do to survive. So with my other kids, me trying to be strong for all of them, they pulling on my strength. I said, God, now who can I trust?
Yeah,
Who can I pull on?
Everybody trying to pull you to different direction.
God. I had in my church family, my immediate family, again, when everybody was coming to me saying God this and God that, I'm like, listen, I ain't want to hear that right now. Y'all keep on saying God gonna, God gonna heal all women, time gonna heal all women, excuse me. But and my dad was like, you know what, baby girl, that's what he called me, baby girl, you know right from wrong, you was brought up in church, and I'm like, okay, I hear that. But still, how I'm supposed to cope. And then too,
I have my moment right now.
Yeah, I went through this a second time, so where is God at now? Yeah. I mean, where is everybody at? Because this is my second time me dealing with this, and now I'm dealing with substance abuse. I done dealt with the gun violence, so I'm dealing with two worlds.
Yeah.
So how I'm supposed to, cope with this, me losing a son to gun violence and me losing a son to substance abuse with this bad fentanyl out here that's a demon. Like she said, this is the devil. Yes. That stuff is killing everybody.
You're right. That is demon and devil. But who's creating? Who's really when you say about God, and I went through that, say, you know what? People, stop telling me about God. I get to that point. Stop telling me. Right. All right? God, he give us the resources. Resources is us. Right. So we don't have to go blame God, what he did, and we did. God gave us the resource, is us. Who corrupting the system? Who's corrupting this earth? Right. Something that nobody really we the spiritual between you and God is between you and God. But you, I see you every day. What are you doing different? Right. Those drugs, who's making it? I don't see devil. I don't see personally. I see people making it. So let's get to that. Let's deal with that. I don't see devil. I see people doing his work if he exists. But I just know people exist.
Exactly, too, because the devil use anybody that he will.
Exactly. So what I'm saying, if you don't recognize, this is what I'm saying. If you don't recognize, if you conscious, you don't talk to your conscious, say this is wrong. Right. You see, individually. All of us is good and bad in us. We like it or not. But some of us know how to control the bad one. Oh, yes. You see? It's in us.
But some people gotten on drugs through medical.
Yeah.
And it controlled them. Because they actually went on just for pain. And it went from one extreme to another. Right. And they can't control some of it. So I don't know how your son went about it with.
Well, Gerard, with him starting on drugs, started out with him smoking marijuana. As we know, fentanyl is between 50 and 100 times stronger than marijuana.
Yeah.
That they say, well, that's light. Sometimes now they made it illegal, but he started off doing that. Started off popping pills, and then after losing his brother, he just embittered to all the other drugs. Now, when I got the call that he was going, I knew he was doing something, but I didn't know to what degree, how strong it was. Until I got a call from one of his friends, and they say he passed out because fentanyl can cause unconsciousness, vomiting, nausea, death. It causes you going into a coma, and it messes with your heart. So I got the call, and he ended up in the hospital, and I didn't yell at him. Because I already knew what he was doing. I didn't say, you know what, you crackhead, this, that. No, I didn't do that. Because, some parents, they do that. But I didn't do that to him. He was laying in the hospital bed, and I reached my head over to him. I said, you need to stop. My voice was so calm. I kept my melatonin like this. I said, you need to stop what you're doing. I said, you got to get yourself together. He said, I know, Mom. And then the doctor did kept him overnight. So the next day, the doctor came in there and said to me, Miss Denby, your son need to go see a cardiologist. He was doing so much. His heart, get this, y'all. His heart was beating at 45%. Wow. That's not normal. Our heart rate's supposed to be at 65%.
And how old was he at this point?
He was 20.
Oh my, young.
20 years old.
Tell babies.
Yes.
20. And he said, I need you to take your son and go see a cardiologist like ASAP. I said, okay. Made the appointment for him when they discharged him. The next morning I got up. Of course, you can't be with them 24/7, you know. I got up and he left the house, and I called him. I said, where you at? I said, because you had an appointment. I said, we got to get you over to the cardiologist. He said, Mom, I don't want to go. And I said, Gerard, I didn't argue with him. I said, listen, you have to go. Your heart rate is beating at 45.
Yeah.
And I think he was scared. I believe he was scared because he was there when the doctor said what he said. So I said, baby, you got to go see the doctor. We got to get you to see a cardiologist. He didn't want to hear that. I said, okay. So next thing you know, he was still doing what he was doing, still passing out, being unconscious. I kept getting the call from his friends. You know, Miss Angie, Gerard passed out. I was like, oh my God. I was like.
So did his friends know he was on drugs?
They didn't know they knew he was smoking weed because they would smoke weed with him, marijuana with him, but they didn't know about the other stuff that he was doing. So he kind of like hid that. You know what I mean?
So do you think besides fentanyl, he's doing some?
Oh, he was doing something else. I'm going to get to that, the autopsy report. When I got the call that he was gone, I was down here in North Carolina, so I had to get the funeral arrangements together. My parents, my mother and my sister, they was living in Georgia at the time, and they came up and they helped me got everything together. So imagine me sitting there. Now, mind y'all, now I'm still grieving my other son. So here it is. I'm getting prepared to do another funeral, but I had to drive from North Carolina, me and my daughter, to Delaware to bury him a day before his birthday. His birthday was literally the next day. I buried my son February 2nd of 2021. And I said to myself...
So the day before he was going to turn 21?
He was going to turn 21 the next day.
Oh, wow.
I had to leave and go bury him the next day. So I called the coroner's office and I said, did my son OD? Because they kept telling me that he OD'd, but he didn't. He did OD that week. But it was a young gentleman that was there when brought him back. So, but that same week, I said, okay, he went back still out doing what he was doing. So when I got the call that he was gone, I was like, okay, I got to deal with this again. So I started planning the funeral arrangement. That my sister did the obituary, and me and my daughter, we got on the road and got to Delaware. She started off first because my mind, I was just so zoned, y'all, and just out of it. And I'm like, I cannot. All I kept on saying is we really doing this? Is I'm really driving to Delaware to bury my another son? And so when I got there, I called the coroner's office and I said, did my son OD? Because they said when they picked his body up, foam leaked out of his mouth. So I got the autopsy report. I said, can y'all tell me? I called the coroner office and the lady, she said to me, if it's Demi, he didn't die from an overdose. I said, okay. I said, because I was told when they picked the body up, foam leaked on his mouth on the side. She said he didn't die from that. She said he died, from toxicity of drugs. But when I got the autopsy report, I looked at it. My son had fentanyl, morphine, cocaine, heroin, marijuana, and all that he had in his body. And and he had in each drug that he had in his system was 1,000 milliliters each.
Wow.
So he didn't even have a chance of survival because he had so much drugs in his system. And I kept looking at the autopsy report, and my daughter and my youngest son said, "Mom, stop looking at the autopsy report because it's not going to change. You keep looking at it." And I kept looking at it, and I'm like, and they said his right vein was so contused, meaning it was so damaged, real bad from him shooting up so much. And
I know you mentioned earlier, he was afraid of needles.
He was, that's why I was like, but there was a young lady that introduced him to it, showed him how to do it because he was scared of needles. And I said, this boy was scared of needles. Who in the world introduced him to this? And not knowing this was nobody but God, because when I got back home, I got a phone call that the lady that introduced him to him, she lived right across the street from us. And I said I wanted to go.
She was a neighbor.
She was a neighbor.
Wow.
Yeah. my daughter went to school with her daughter, and her daughter called my daughter and was like, "Tell your mom I'm so sorry."
So that is his resources.
She wasn't even talking to her mom. She said, "Tell your mom I'm so sorry, cause my mother was getting high with your brother." And she was an adult.
Yes.
And I said, she didn't have sense. Whew, Jesus. You didn't have sense enough to even say, "No, Gerard, I'm not going to do this because I don't want your mom mad at me. I don't, want to take you through this." An adult.
It's not even mad. It's just it's the wrong thing to do, period. Who's mad? This is the wrong thing to do it. How can you sit down with child that his life he has not started yet, and you put in drugs in his body? It's not about you knowing or you know or you don't know. That's not the point. The point that you are taking child his life away that he has not even started yet. That is what they should understand that. Regardless who's seeing.
Right.
Right is right, wrong is wrong. And our children dying before they even started yet.
Well, you don't think anymore all of this if you're already addicted to it.
Right.
I mean, the mindset of yours is not in the right path.
Yeah. But then it comes to think, at what point are they starting this? At what point does this even start? Because, when you're in school, even when we were in school, we had the DARE program. We said, don't say no to drugs.
Exactly.
And that starts young, but still we have people that are addicted to drugs. I know a lot of them, like Diana mentioned earlier, it's issued by the doctor. And then they become addicted.
So what they do with the doctor is they legalize something that is illegal to available to regular life, but you given to take the pain away for temporary. Then become addicted
to it.
We don't realize that sometimes in science and medical field, maybe they should look to that. They have a lot of impact with everything going on. They don't want to talk about it, but that's the reality. That's the truth.
Medicine affects people different.
It does.
Where I may could take it and it didn't bother me, but you may could take it and then become addicted.
Right.
So it affects people different with it. But you was going to say, the neighbor, my pastor, Taylor, he will always say sin is introduced by man.
Yeah.
So that was introduced.
Yeah.
But now the two deaths that you had,
yes, ma'am,
both of them was your son.
Yes.
But did one affect you different than the other one? Like the gunshot versus the one that was on drugs, did it affect you different or was it the same?
That's a good question.
It affected me differently because I'm like, when my son got killed, I was like, okay, somebody done. This individual, I don't know who these individuals are, but they took my son's life. But now, and I'm like, okay, so I dealt with that, trying to get through the gun violence, and then I begin to do more research on gun violence, how it come about, how we can put a stop to it. I even did fundraisers, and then, but again, the gun violence was still going on. It's still going on.
Yes.
So now I'm dealing with substance abuse. I'm like, okay, so now how I'm gonna deal with gun violence, substance abuse? I'm dealing with both. So how can I juggle both worlds of losing my son to gun violence and then losing my son to substance abuse? And I said, God, how am I gonna tell people I don't want to deal with this. I don't even want to talk to other people, other parents or mothers or families and say, y'all, this is how y'all get through gun violence, this is how y'all get through drugs. I'm dealing with both. So imagine what's going through my mind. My mentality. How can I get the word out? This is how you're going to cope with gun violence. But it's like, Angie, don't forget, you're dealing with substance abuse.
Substance right here, left and
substance
right.
abuse too. Girl, how you battling both of that at the same time? So I'm like, and it's like I can't grieve one without the other. That's another thing that hurts me.
Yeah. So I think they both connected, the gun and drugs, because again, you must have to be something mentally you have to use to just pick gun. Remember, gun does not shoot people. The people that hurt that shoot people. So, and they both connected. I think that really individually we have to look ourselves and then in the family and then community, because community is family.
Right.
And we have to really consistently keep our children busy by activity after school, and paying attention to what is going on in school too. I honestly, if they be checked when they come to school, because even middle school they use drugs, pill and like candy and stuff. They do that. So what can we do to
what
really?
Can we do as parents? Because why would you even want to put it on the school system? When why didn't you check your book bag?
Yeah, that's all.
Why didn't you check?
Sometimes another friend bring. You know.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If every parent would check and see. Me growing up, and my children, my household, they couldn't close the doors in that household. That's my household.
But some family they let. Some family let do that.
But if everybody did that,
right?
You know,
absolutely.
You ain't closing the door. Empty your book bags out. Half the time we had to empty them out so we could wash the clothes that was packed up in the bags.
Yes.
You know that they never empty out.
Exactly.
So, but if everybody would take that effect, you know, that's my child. So I'm protecting my child because I want your child protected. Because you hurt, I'm hurt.
Absolutely.
This hurts me.
But every family, some family use drugs in the house. So when I went in the high school, my son, I used to consistently go to and sit. He doesn't know I was coming. I used to go and sit, and he doesn't like it. But I sat with the principal, and this boy, he got caught in drugs. Guess what? Who gave it to him? His father.
Somebody introduced him.
His father told him to sell.
Wow.
So what I'm saying, like, we have that, and they take it from their family. Now they selling to those children that they never introduced before.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important, because you cannot control all the family. It would be nice if every family take that accountability approach to do well by their children, so their children they can do well by others. So. In the school, Sunday school is a place that everybody coming. I think it's necessary to check those books. So since you cannot control family, you cannot go to their house, tell them what to do. But in school, if you come to my school, I will tell you what to do, so you will not affect other children. So therefore, we should have check their book. So you will not affect other children.
And you brought up a good point, Fatia, as far as it was introduced by a family member for him to sell.
Yeah.
So I know with Native American, we have a lot of substance abuse issues in our culture. And it stems back from generation to generation use, stemming from boarding schools. There was a lot of trauma there. And I think now a lot of people cope with trauma through whether it's alcohol or drug use. That's why I was curious if there was a tie-in with your son on that, because a lot of times trauma or abuse, that's how they cope. And you mentioned it earlier that you didn't cope that way, and bless your heart that you didn't, because you could be on a different path, and your children would be on a different path.
Absolutely.
But how do you change that generation to generation substance abuse and alcohol abuse? That's probably another topic we need to have at a different time. But
what do we do?
What do we do? How do we change that? Because it's affecting so many people. And so many people are dying because of it.
And
whether it's heroin is laced with fentanyl, cocaine is laced with marijuana, fentanyl is the devil.
It's the devil.
There's so many people dying from that, not knowing that that's what they're purchasing, and it's in what they're getting.
Yes.
I put on so many fundraisers.
Yeah.
Just trying to educate people.
Trying to
educate them.
Because to me, you a mother that lost two sons.
Yes.
No matter how you look at it, I lost two sons.
Yes.
Right.
If I want to go into telling you how they died, I can, but I lost two sons. That's my thing. I lost two sons.
Yes.
So that preferably, you know, and then you got to be the mother for the ones that's left. You know, here.
Yes.
You got to be strong.
I sure do.
When you're hurting.
Yes.
But you know what? You tell somebody sometimes, look, I'm hurting too.
I'm hurting too.
You know, whether it's a girlfriend or whoever, you know. And then, you know, I don't know how the dad dealt with the death. I mean, did you had to be strong for it?
Well, that's another note. That's another story. You know? But I let him have his moment, you know, and I had mine, you know, but it was an in and out situation with him being in their life. But like I said, I shelter my boys and my daughter. I shelter my children. with love.
When you say shelter,
God's
though,
grace.
you're really protecting them from the stuff that could harm them. Every mother, I think, wants to do that. They want to be that shelter for them. So there's nothing wrong with that, Angie, at all.
We still do it.
So we
yes,
have.
I'm going down to my grandkids now.
We
But
covered-
Angie, you said that you even had another episode that scared you with a child.
Yes.
With your child that was sick.
My third son, I thought I was about to lose another son because he was at end stage failure, liver failure. He was diagnosed with biliary atresia, which is a liver disease, 2.5 months old. And he was functioning 23 years later off that bad liver and had to get the same procedure done in September when he first got diagnosed and had to get the liver transplant done last year of September 6th on Labor Day. A living donor donate a piece of his liver to us.
Thank you to the
Thank
donor.
you. Yes.
So we covered a lot of things today about our children, how we can protect them, and everything like that. But what do you guys think about our system?
I think we can do better with the system by putting fundraisers on, drug awareness week, gun violence. If we could just, it's all about coming together.
Yes.
It's all about coming together as a whole, as a family.
Right, but did our system fail us?
I think it did. In some part it did. The reason why I say that because it's like for somebody that that introduced somebody to drugs, and sometimes they don't even get incarcerated a long period of time. But that's murder because you gave somebody a bad drug.
Because we don't have a fentanyl here in the USA. I mean,
they try to
it didn't grow from the tree. I mean,
right. It really came from China. Yeah, China is the primary source where they brought it over here into our state, and now that it's in our country, in the United States, it's like it just went rapid.
I truly think sometimes it's something to do with our brain is very important. God gave us to operate right way. Some people, they don't want you to operate your mind. They don't want you to be awake. They don't want you to be awake. You don't want you to be awake and to have that knowledge to lead this nation. Right. So we as family, we have to teach our children the drugs. We have to do research because remember, our brain is very, very important. Right. That's what they're trying to numb. And you cannot numb your mind. It's for temporary. That's where you go back and get in more and more and more. Pain, you deal with, you heal with when you are natural. It's not by numbing. Mm-hmm. We have to feel our pain to get healed. Yeah. That's what we have to teach our household. Right. Then we can bring to community. Mm-hmm. And system, sometimes you can say no. Yeah. All right, you can say you have right to say no.
And that's that document I mentioned earlier that's currently showing on TV about the opioid epidemic that we're in. Right. That it was introduced to the medical system that is going to be this great new
yeah, exactly.
And they didn't really go into detail on how addictive that is for people. Right. So we have people that probably never used substance abuse in their life, had an operation, got on opioids, and became addicted. Exactly. And now they're buying it on the street corner. They probably lost everything. Right. So I think the system did fail.
And the money they want.
How they going to get these drug dealers? They selling this stuff to the kids and giving it to people, and it's like
they control. They control.
I think we need to start introducing organic medicine. I grew up Vicks Vapor Apple.
Yeah, me too. So Africa.
Organic medicine. That's right.
Listen, me growing up, when you get sick, you have fever. Here they tell you get in the water, cold water. Back home they put a lot of blanket on you so you can sweat it out.
You got to sweat it out.
So we have to use it works.
I have a question. Your mission is to help motivate, heal, and minister to families that we lost loved ones.
Right.
My question is, what kind of programs, do you have any programs that you deal with, like seminars, workshops?
That's what I do. I started off with doing a lot of fundraisers, gun violence awareness week. I did gun violence. Yeah, I did gun violence week, and I did substance abuse. And I also let everybody know when you have a moment when you're going through your moment of loss, don't stay there.
That's right.
But my foundation, I had them to come to me because I had like my youngest client was like 5 years old, and I had like group therapy sessions where we could just talk and get out what you know and talk about what brought you to that point.
Exactly.
How did you get
Very
there?
important.
You know, so I help. I don't have no age limit on who I help. I assist all ages. My we also I do incentives. I do giveaway clothes. I just want to give back to the community.
Good.
Have you
Strong
brought
woman.
this
You're a very
to
strong
the,
woman.
to the higher authority, politicians, you know?
Like to I actually
to them
dealt
about
with
it.
the government up back home in Delaware. Got with her Bethany Bellamy, and I also did seminars, workshops. Anybody that need me, I'm willing to partner up with any entity.
So is that what your foundation, so what does your foundation price? So if we got listeners out there listening, you know, and let them know what your foundation's all about and what it provides for them.
Okay, we provide resources if you need help with you want to do group therapy. We do group therapy sessions. If you want to do one-on-one, I can refer you to who you need to go to. If you need help, I also refer clients if they need help to check into a rehab center. I have resources for that. I do it all. Like I said, I don't discriminate or tell somebody they can't come and get help. It don't matter how old you are. Young and old.
That's right.
I'm willing to help. Because like I said, you don't know who's going through what and who's suffering from and what their struggles are. So many people are struggling from abuse, different drugs that they're on, and they having a hard time trying to get off it.
It's hard.
So
It's a tough battle. So for those of you who want to learn more about Angie's foundation, it is a Mend Foundation. Definitely on social media. I think she's working on your website now.
I have a website. You can go to, if you go to my Mend Foundation page, you will see my website. You will see my bio. You will see where you can send donations to. We take, financial donations, whatever, it's big or small. No begging. I'm not doing none of that. But we do. I do give back to other organizations. Things like that. So.
Thank you for joining us,
Thank
Angie.
you, Angie.
This was a great discussion. I mean, like we all of us are mothers. I couldn't imagine what you went through, but thank you for having the courage to go through it and share your story with everybody. Next week, join us. We'll be talking about my trip to Africa, and I definitely visited the slums there and an orphanage. So stay tuned. We'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.
At L'Amour Media Versatility, we aim to provide comprehensive solutions to our clients. We have a team of experienced professionals who can help you with every aspect of your media needs. From documentation and marketing to promotion and more, we provide our clients with top-notch quality services. We understand that each client is unique and has specific needs. That's why our team works closely with you to understand your company and event goals and objectives. We are committed to providing the highest quality services in media and strive to exceed our clients' expectations. Our team is passionate about helping you reach your goals and making sure you get the best experience and results. If you're looking for a reliable business to help you with all your media needs, look no further than L'Amour Media Versatility. Contact us today to get started at 252-497-3817 or at www.lamour-photos.com.